Hello, everyone. Well, thank you for being here, and I hope you're having a great lunch. So, as Min introduced, my name is Sally. I'm a doctoral student, and Min and I have been working on generative AI data privacy in higher education, and we think the privacy is an important conversation to have. And in fact, in our earlier sessions when we're talking about responsible AI in classroom, it is one of the main principles is to protect the privacy. So every time when we interact with data in coursework or for teaching, the data is generated. What type of data is generated? Who have access to it? How is it going to be used? And those are all important questions that we should consider. So in this interactive lunch discussion, we would like to invite you on a conversation with each other and also with yourself on the data privacy, particularly regarding generative AI use in higher education. So earlier, we have asked you to put in a response to the survey. Okay, so we have 3 questions. We start with which role best represents you, just to get an idea about how many people and what your roles are in this room. So we're seeing a lot of staff, and then we're seeing like 9% of students and 40% of faculty. We're really looking forward to having this discussion with you all playing different roles. And next question, please. Yeah, and then this question we asked about what do you use Gen AI for in coursework or teaching? And here we can see, we do not use Gen AI for coursework or teaching. Awesome. We would like to hear more of your thoughts, the reasons why you decided not to use it for coursework or teaching. And then the other majority we're seeing here is preparing course materials for lesson plans. And then we're also seeing 5% of completing coursework and writing feedback on student assignments. This will directly lead to our later discussion questions. Awesome. So here we asked you to put down 1 or 2 words about your privacy concerns regarding generative AI use in higher education. We can see the biggest part here is data. That's also got mentioned in our previous panel discussions. Data management is a big thing that we're going to discuss in our lunch discussion for sure. We're seeing tools here, training, illiteracy, environmental commodification, and information, de-identified and personal. Awesome, so this goes down to like the information types, like the type of information we will share with generative AI and also the type of data get generated during our interaction with AI. So now we would like to move on to the table discussion. We would like to continue having discussion with your colleagues, your neighbors across the table, but with these guiding questions. We have 3 guiding questions, and then for each of the questions, we will give around like 2 to 3 minutes for you to discuss, and then we can share across the room. So the first question will be, have you ever felt uncertain about privacy while using generative AI for coursework or teaching? And what about when it involves someone else's information? Okay, everyone, I hope we had some good discussion on this question. Anyone wants to share?
Oh, sure, yeah, hi. I'm Haley. I work with Liberal Arts Instructional Technology Services. Part of my role is supporting faculty in developing and implementing online courses here at UT. So I work a fair bit with faculty, and I know a common concern, especially early on with AI tools, was having their intellectual property as part of a database for other AI users to generate from. So like, their questions they're coming up with, now will other people have access to them? And we also talked about, if you're using the tool for coursework or teaching and a student writes something sensitive, right, if you're writing responses, how do you navigate those situations? And so I know some faculty have felt uncertain in those situations.
Thank you for sharing, Haley. Do you have anyone else who would like to share?
Yeah, our table was talking about how people may have some of these uncertainties when entering information into the tools, and that some of those misgivings would go away if they were more literate about the use of enterprise tools. So if they were concerned about something that they were entering being used to train the underlying model, they don't have to have that concern when using these enterprise tools. So it kept coming back to the need for greater literacy about, when to use a tool versus not, what to upload versus what to not. There was a comment about the privacy guidance that's already provided to the university community, which people may or may not be aware of. So those were some things at our table.
Thank you for sharing. And yes, for sure, to reflect on that, the privacy guidance is always important, especially when it comes from the university to the students, and then as a way to guide the use as part of the responsible use. And we can move on to the next question. Similar idea, we want you to discuss with your neighbors about what privacy risk of Gen AI in education do you think is not talked about enough? And have you ever seen someone else use that concern you? We may have touched on this a little bit in our previous discussion, but this question is intended to elicit more thoughts on this particular aspect. And a similar format, we will spend the next 2 to 3 minutes to talk across your table, and then we can do a share across the room. Okay, let's start. Okay, everyone. Sorry if I interrupted you. I'm really looking forward to hearing what we have for this question. Do we have any volunteers who want to share what the table, or like what your table talks about, or your own thoughts about this?
So we actually discussed 2 things which went beyond privacy. One was that there is no way that AI exposes where it learned what it learned from. And that is a bigger concern in terms of using AI. And the second concern is basically taking the copyright of your methods and your knowledge base, which is more than just your private data. And so that's something that needs to come to the table too.
Thank you for sharing. So what I heard is, one is copyright. It's like what could represent a person. Their knowledge base is more than just the information itself. And then the first one is?
The first one was, where did it learn things from?
Yeah. Where it learns things from, the transparency, whether it discloses which model it trains from, which database is used, whether there's any inherent bias in this database. They're all up to concerns. Okay, do we have any other, anyone else who would like to share, who want to embark on this?
We talked about the perceived expectations of privacy in this country versus other countries that may have more authoritarian governments. And that led us down the road of talking about AI regulation and whether it's even possible in the context of this country, since most people have wanted regulation for social media for a decade or more, and really nothing has happened with that. So we don't feel hopeful that meaningful regulation will happen of AI either.
Yeah, we kind of see those technology come in the loop, that there's always like new technology and there's always discussion about how we're going to protect our information. But in fact, it's more and more information are being collected, and we're always in the loop and trying to develop more privacy policy or guidance or frameworks or guardrails to address that issue. But it's certainly ongoing, and there's likely not going to be a perfect solution to address that, but it's important to raise our awareness that this is an important thing to consider, and then we will continue in this conversation about how do we protect our privacy while still use the tool ethically and responsibly. And can we move on to the next question? Okay, so this is our last discussion question. We really wanted to bring it up. because we believe this is like an interesting question to discuss. And also this is kind of the main topic of our symposium is the use of enterprise technology that UT will provide us the access and protected access to generative AI tool without having to share our data with the platform provider. So here we're wondering what's your thoughts on like if the university collects data from the university licensed AI platform, what would need to be true for that to feel acceptable to you and what would cross the line? We would like you to take the next 2 to 3 minutes to discuss, and if we have time, we'll do a little share out as well. Let's start. Okay, y'all, I'm seeing some very thoughtful discussion. But we're almost running out of time, so I kind of want to have to cap you here. But do we have anyone who want to share on this?
We talked about 3 things, I think, or 3 that I got. One was the problem of authoritarian leaders who, may remove voices of the faculty from the governance process, make it harder to trust what the institution will do. Another one is how durable the agreements are with companies that may go under and sell their assets, including our data, to other companies. And then the third one, I'm blanking on what the third one was. It was the convenience. It was something about the, okay, I've lost it.
Thank you, Mick, for sharing. Do we have any other volunteer who want to have, okay.
Besides what was already mentioned, we actually talked about the variety of teaching methods that different people have creates opportunity for learning. And if we were to start monitoring them and have AI standardize things across, then we will probably stifle this innovation and learning that happens. So I think there's great need for diversity and innovation, which cannot be standardized and should not be standardized by monitoring or having AI monitor and say that, it's just like the echo chamber we create by having AI write something. It just writes the same way every time. So we are not going to get new ideas unless we just allow human creativity.
I wanted to add something actually to this. It's also potentially against our basic freedom of teaching. And if that is controlled in the classroom, I think that could be problematic, not only diversity. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from our discussion is, one, from top down, we need to have a durable policy with the platform regarding the data use. But when we're communicating to students, it should not be controlled. We should make it clear that the AI tool is there to help them, but to serve their needs and then to customize the purpose instead of having it controlled and consistent and required a certain use across all contexts. And it should be context dependent. Okay, let's move on to the next task. We are approaching the end of the session, but we just hope to wrap up with this individual writing reflection. So you should have seen this written worksheet on your table. There are 3 prompts. And on the back, there's another question, like anything else you would like to share with us. So this is kind of like a critical incident technique approach we're using here because we really value your perspectives and your own privacy experiences, and we think that's going to spark very helpful and valuable long-term conversation regarding the privacy issues with generative AI use in higher education. So we would like you to take this time to reflect on your own privacy privacy experiences, and your experiences with other people's information, or your thoughts about it, and your observation of other people's use of Gen AI that could have caused certain privacy concerns. And also in our previous discussion, if there's anything that you found very valuable that you want to write down, that you can write on the back. I do want to make clear that this is part of our research, so we may potentially analyze your data if you're willing to share with us, which we will really appreciate. But if you don't feel comfortable sharing that information, you can hold on to the worksheet or just like not submit the form. We still think this whole process is like a very self-reflective process for you to think back at your privacy experience and think about how you can improve that in the future. And I will come to collect your worksheet at the end of this whole symposium, since we don't have enough time to work on this right now, but I hope you can like keep working on it. And then if you're happy to participate in the study, you can just leave your worksheet as you leave the symposium, and I'll collect it from there. And thank you all for sharing your insights and participating in this lunch discussion. I appreciate your time. And I hope, again, this could be kind of like the starting point or kind of like a reflection point for you on your own practices and also your practice involving your students or colleagues' data privacy. And then hopefully you can just continue even after the symposium ends. Thank you.
Thank you to Sally and Min for that conversation, and also for the great research they're doing about Gen AI and privacy in education. Please, I will leave this up for a little while, and then we're going to start our next panel in 10 minutes. It's a conversation with a group of students on campus about how they're navigating generative AI use, and so we're excited to talk with them. So in about 10 minutes, there's enough time to get some refreshment and reset. Thank you.